president's speech. Congressman, are you with us?
I am, Bob. I'm calling you from the cloakroom just steps from the floor of the House, and it was an incredibly proud moment for me to be able to represent Northwest Florida and observance of the State of the Union. And for me, Bob, this was the best speech that President Trump has ever given, and I've been to a few of them. The president was unifying but firm. I felt he was bold and decisive, but he had a measured tone, and he laid out a lot of priorities that didn't really lend themselves to a partisan tilt. It was just a way to make the country work better, from infrastructure to a number of the concepts on immigration reform to rebuilding our military and ensuring that we've got the right assets on the U.S.-Mexico border. So all around, I was incredibly impressed with the president. I had a few moments to speak with him after he gave his speech, and he assured me that in the coming days, the memo that I've been fighting hard to get released will be released and declassified by his administration. So I was glad to be able to have that conversation with him as he was departing.
He said his goal was to be unifying in the speech tonight, although we watched the stand-up and the applause and the sit-downs and the lack on the other aisle. Did it work? Did you bring the aisles together? And beyond that, what in that speech did you hear that could benefit specifically Northwest Florida? And I'll speak to infrastructure and his statements on energy in particular.
Sure. I felt as though the greatest impact to Northwest Florida will be a rebuilding of our military, because so much of our economy relies on the research, development, testing, training, and evaluation mission that has been starved under the defense sequester. So to speak to that specifically was important. The president has a bold energy agenda. I'm glad that does not include drilling off of Florida shores. That would have been devastating to our economy and to our military alike, and it's good news that he's received that. I wish there would have been more of a bipartisan reaction, Bob. I will say that there were moments I was perplexed that Democrats weren't standing, particularly when the president was rattling through the announcement of companies that were doing better and American workers that were doing better. For example, when the president announced that Apple was reinvesting in the American economy, I felt like that was something that if a Democrat would have said it, Democrats would have stood up. But since a Republican said it, it was a partisan moment when it really should not have been. And I think that when we look at the economic success of the country going forward, it's really going to be important to tie in a new sense of bipartisanship so that all Americans can enjoy the success that this country is going to see moving forward.
In the Democratic response, Congressman Joe Kennedy, Democrat of Massachusetts, responding specifically to the tax cut, saying, we're giving the corporations and businesses the tax cut now at the expense of taxing families later. Of course, the individual tax cuts expiring in 2025, and we're seeing a lot of one-time bonuses from companies to millions of Americans. Respond to that.
Well, bonuses are a good thing. Bonuses let the American people have more money in their pocket, and so I would disagree with Nancy Pelosi's characterization of them as crumbs. I like Joe Kennedy. I know Joe Kennedy. He's a passionate guy, and he's an important voice in the Congress, but I think it's very hard to make the argument that even short-term increases in wages and bonuses and economic potential aren't a good thing for Americans. Many Republicans want to make the individual tax cuts permanent so that we can continue this great success. My suspicion is that between now and 2025, we'll have a real opportunity to go back and do that, but the program is working in the American economy, and I think that will lead to more success in tax reform.
Matt Gaetz, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.